Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Anxiety Files Day 3. So, today we are going to be focusing on how to embody your life without anxiety, right? So, how do you live without anxiety is the real question. How does that feel in your body? How do those reactions look like? So, if typically something goes wrong, um, let's say you get into a fight with your husband or your boyfriend or whoever, and you react to that situation, meaning you kind of do your, like you go towards your first survival instinct. So you either fight or you walk away or you feel offended or your feelings get hurt or you feel angry or wronged. That's a reaction, right? Rather than being able to respond, which when you respond, you still feel safe in your body and you have more of a sense of curiosity, more of a sense of, okay, there's a problem. How do I fix it? My husband's upset because I overspent. I understand that this is coming from a place of concern because he wants to provide for our family. And maybe we're not in the same page about what that looks like. Maybe this person at work keeps irritating me and it gives me a lot of anxiety because I feel like I'm already overworked and underpaid and I feel like crying, right? That's a reaction. But how can I respond to that? Well, if I feel safe in my body, I'm going to ask questions. Okay, what is the most important thing that you need right now? Okay, this is how much I have, and this is how much time I have. So this is how much work I have, and this is how much time I have. Can we leave some things for tomorrow so that I don't feel so overwhelmed? And if someone keeps kind of pushing your boundaries, so let's say that same coworker or your boss or whoever, starts to say, well, I don't care how you get it done, just get it done. And now it's starting to feel very threatening to you and very disrespectful. Okay, well, let me see. How am I reacting to that? Well, I'm feeling afraid. I'm feeling like my job could be in jeopardy. If my job is in jeopardy, and if I lose my job, I might not have any money. If I don't have any money, how am I going to survive? So that's a reaction because you're letting your imagination kind of run away with you, as opposed to responding to that would be like, okay, I don't like the way I'm being treated here. What can I do? What are my options? Let me lay them down in front of me and say, okay, maybe it's time for me to start looking for different jobs, and to start really scouting out potential jobs where I am going to feel respected because I am going to work the best and be most beneficial at a job where I am respected. So that's important to me. So let me scout the jobs that, pay what I need to get paid, that have a good environment where the people work as a team. So let me look on that and let me know that I am better than this and that I don't have to deal with this. Or I can talk to that person's boss and report my concerns. Maybe it's time that I do speak up to HR so that this person doesn't keep treating us like we're toddlers you know well, I feel really anxious because I have a child with special needs, and that's very difficult. I feel very helpless, and I don't know exactly how I'm supposed to live my life and take care of this amazing little human. I just feel very overwhelmed. Okay, that's a reaction. How do we respond? Okay, what are my choices? What are the programs out there that offer help? What are the people out there that I know love me that would be willing to, at the very least, bring me a meal or maybe some coffee? Or who can I trust to come hang out with my baby while I take a 20-minute nap? Maybe I don't need that much time. What are the little ways that I can start to untangle this reaction? And how can I start responding in a way that feels good to my body and to my mind? How can I start training my mind to automatically respond instead of react? right? What emotions are felt when things go up and down. So if I asked you right now to think of something that gives you a lot of anxiety, right? Maybe it's your debt that keeps kind of piling. Maybe it's your mom or your dad or your spouse or your boss. Maybe it's your weight. Maybe it's an illness. If I asked you to just get lost in that thought for, a minute, what does your body start to do when you start to feel like you're in danger? Most people, will start doing this thing where they're like, eyebrows will start to kind of crinkle, you know, their nose goes up, their breathing gets a little shallow. They kind of go into this freeze mode where they're forgetting to really inhale and exhale in a normal rhythm. A lot of people will get really tense. Their shoulders will go down. They will slouch. They will lay down. Maybe their tummy kind of tightens up. Think about what your body does when you start to feel that anxiety. Okay. And now let me ask you, what happens when I ask you what your body does when something is going very well? So, when someone tells you they love you, when someone gives you a smile, payday, how do you feel for that second when that direct deposit hits your bank account? What do you feel when you are out in a beautiful place, maybe the beach, maybe the woods, somewhere green, maybe when you're with your favorite person or holding hands, or when someone tells you you're doing a great job? Go back to the past, to the memory, go to your memory box and think about a day when you won something. Maybe it was an award or some special recognition. Maybe the day you had your baby shower or your wedding. Go back to a moment where you felt very seen, very special. Maybe you did something for yourself. Maybe you took yourself out to a nice lunch and you had a little bit of extra money and you felt so good. What does that feel like? What does your body do? Right? For a lot of women, their shoulders kind of roll back. A smile slaps onto their face, right? So the corners of your mouth go up. You take a deep breath. Your face feels relaxed. Your jaw feels relaxed. Your tongue is relaxed. You kind of feel a little bit just safer, a little bit nicer. The sun shines a little brighter, right? Okay, so let's talk about why that's happening. So, what's happening in your body is that there's something called a polyvagal theory, right? And that takes you from, it always goes up and down. So, everything I'm about to tell you right now, it's not that anything is what it's supposed to be. Everyone experiences a range of these three states every single day. Okay, so if you're in one, it doesn't make it bad. It's just where you are. And we're going to talk about that. So you have your ventral vagal, you have your sympathetic nervous system, and you have your dorsal system. Okay. So your dorsal nervous system, excuse me, mouthful. So I'm going to talk to you right now about what each of these mean. So when you're in your ventral vagal, that's everyone's favorite, right? That's when you are mobilized, you are bonding, you're connected, you are like present in the moment. You'll usually feel this way in your body when you are playing sports or board games, when you're cleaning without the intention of distracting yourself. So, like if you're angry cleaning, this doesn't apply to you, but if you're just cleaning and you have your music on and your intention is just to keep a beautiful, nice, clean home where you feel good, you're in your ventral vagal when you're playing with your kids, when you're at work, if you're teaching, if you're selling, if you're hosting a master class, if you're dancing, if you're working out, if you're reading, and you're very engaged in what you're reading, if you're learning something, if you're at school, you're studying, when you're making love and you're really in your body and you're feeling really connected. If you're walking around in Disneyland, or if you're swimming in the ocean, or if you are feeling the grass in your feet, these are all signs that your body is in ventral vagal. So you're very engaged, you're very connected, you have a purpose, and you feel good in your body. Your body is mobilized. So this is probably my favorite place to be. I don't know about you, but like just by hearing this description, doesn't this make you want to go like, oh yes, I really like this. So think about what your body feels when you're in ventral vagal. Your heart is racing just a little bit, just enough that you are mobilized, right? You probably have a smile in your face. You probably feel like you have a goal. So there's steps that you need to take. So you're moving your body with a purpose. Your mind is actively engaged in getting something, right? In an end goal. So that when you are in ventral vagal, you feel like, yeah, like no matter what's going on around you, I have a purpose. So you're kind of ignoring everything in your environment and you're very focused on the one thing that you're doing, right? So that's ventral vagal. And then we have your sympathetic nervous system, which is where you are if you have anxiety. So your sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight response to danger, right? So, and I use the word danger a little bit loosely because it doesn't necessarily have to be for danger. Obviously, if you um, are about to eat a spoiled piece of like a shrimp or fish and you smell that, your body's gonna activate your sympathetic nervous system to fight or flight, and you're gonna like throw away that, you're going to walk away from that piece of fish, right? You're not going to eat like disgusting rotten seafood. So it is there for your protection. But we're talking about anxiety in terms of something you necessarily that you aren't necessarily feeling because there isn't an immediate danger. We're talking about anxiety as something that you are struggling with because no matter what you do, it seems to stick around, even though you know that there isn't any real danger, right? So with fight or flight, your reactions are kind of like you are reacting over responding. Okay, so that's what we were talking about earlier. So you're yelling, hitting, walking away, you're irritated, you're annoyed, you're anxious, you're panicking, you're working on anything but what you need to do. So you're procrastinating, you're in denial of the problem, and instead you're kind of focused on what you're feeling inside. So you know that there's a problem outside of you, but instead of recognizing that the problem is outside of you, and so therefore it requires a response, you feel like there is something that it is attacking within you, and so you are reacting to save yourself. So you're kind of going into this animalistic part of you that is fighting and or running away from the problem to save yourself, right? So the problem again feels very much like it is outside of you. I will say that with this, when you're in your sympathetic nervous system, when you are in your fight or flight response, you tend to make stupid decisions. And I'm just going to be very blunt about that because when you are allowing your mind to believe that a problem outside of you um, is the problem, and therefore you need something outside of you to change for the problem to be fixed, then you're kind of going into this victim mentality where you are completely surrendering your power and you are deciding, no, 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 the problems are all out there, like the hungry lions are out there. And unless the lion is shot or it runs away or it decides it's not hungry anymore, then I cannot be safe. Instead of really locking into yourself and saying, no, 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 you know what? I am always the solution. My emotions and the way I feel about myself, the identity I choose to see myself of as is the solution. So that means, let me see, how do I fight this lion? Do I scare the lion? Do I have any weapons? Like, I will go down fighting because I am more powerful than the lion. I have dominion over this lion. And so, when you're making decisions from that sympathetic state, if you are afraid, you're going to make cowardly decisions most of the time, right? Unless it's something where you're obviously in a very real fight or flight. So if someone um, is holding a weapon against you and they're telling you to give them your wallet, then yeah, the smart decision out of fear is to just give them your wallet because your life is worth more than a wallet, right? But if you're in your fight or flight because let's say you have a business and you don't want to show up online because you're afraid of being judged, then that is something that you showing up boldly for the women that you are trying to teach, that is more important than your fear. So that's how you're able to discern, right? Is this an appropriate fight or flight response? Well, let's see what's more important. You weigh your options. You go into this respond mode where, no, 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 wait a minute. This fake fear that I've created that people might not like me, or that they might criticize me, or that they might judge me, or that I might let them down is telling me that I am giving them all my power. I am assuming that they need to like me, that I owe them something, when what I really owe myself is to show up for the women that do need me because I have a great product that I can teach them or show them or sell them that is going to make their life so much better, right? And this applies for anything. Like if you are afraid of your mom, is the fear you feel for your mom more important than your inner peace now as an adult? No. No, you're an adult. You have to make decisions for yourself. When you were little, you depended on your mom for love, for money, for food, for shelter. But now that you are an adult, you get to decide, actually, you know what? I can take care of myself. I will figure it out. And I have to start by setting boundaries. And if I don't like the way she's treating me, then I will speak up. And if she doesn't like that, I will walk away and give her some room to reconsider or, retrain her own mind. That's not my problem. My problem is to take care of myself, right? If you kind of go into, let's say, flight when you start a diet, let's say you want to lose weight and you start to feel very anxious about something. So by today, you should know what your anxiety is trying to tell you because yesterday we had that short RTT session where we asked our mind, why are you here? So right now I'm going to use the example of something I've heard before, which is for women who are trying to lose weight, but they have anxiety, and so they turn to food to cope with that quote unquote danger. You would tell your mind, well, what's more important, me eating this food right now, or me really looking at that problem, the real root of the problem that my anxiety is telling me that I need to heal to move forward. And once you go back to that problem and really heal it, so the real root of your anxiety, you will stop turning to food for comfort because you won't need it anymore because the problem will not be there anymore. And I really want to emphasize that what I mean here by healing the problem is not that you got rid of the problem. Like, let's say, no matter what it is, whether you need money, whether you want to lose weight, whether you're trying to get rid of an illness or save your marriage or change your relationship or just get better in life, those things are outside of you. They are not the problem, right? The problem is that you think that you cannot handle those problems. And so your identity is this identity of a victim that thinks she has to run or hide from the problem, or that she's stuck and that she doesn't know how to heal that problem, because that's how you see herself. And so that puts your body in this sympathetic state. But the truth about you is that you were always meant to handle that problem. That's why that problem showed up in your life in the first place, because it is something that is there to sharpen your edges, right? It's something there that is meant for you to surpass so that you can feel better. So when you're in this sympathetic state and your heart starts racing and you start feeling aggravated and annoyed and irritated, and your body and starts to do things that just feel very tense and very endangered, then it is your responsibility to say, oh, shit, I'm having a reaction. Okay, let me take a deep breath. Let me sit down. Let me feel the feet. Excuse me, let me feel the ground beneath my feet. Let me feel the chair on my butt. Let me feel the wind in my skin. Let me focus on this moment. Let me calm down, because if I make a decision from this fight or flight reaction, I am going to essentially create a cowardly response that's just going to give me more problems. And you know that's true, because if you had that same problem for a while, you know that that means that you've probably been making all your decisions from a fight or flight um, sympathetic nervous system place, right? So you want to move and make your decisions from that initial ventral vagal place, which is when you feel playful, connected, bonding, in control of yourself. So in order to go back up the ladder, then you want to just calm down, take a deep breath, release through your mouth. I always suggest breathing in through your nose for a count of 4. So, and releasing for a count of 8. I always suggest doing that about 12 times to really calm your body down and really start making a list of, okay, I was reacting. I reacted by getting angry, by taking things personal, by thinking that this thing that was happening outside of me has any control over my body. But I am going to look at my responding choices. So then I'm going to make another list of all the ways that I can respond to this. And before I start making my list on how I can respond to the problem outside of me, I am going to put my body in a place of, again, being in that ventral vagal state. And how I'm going to do that is that I am going to sit up straight. I am going to put my body in a state of ventral vagal by putting my shoulders back, creating a strong backbone, by regulating my breath, by smiling. Maybe I'm going to put my arms up and stretch. And I am going to feel that feeling in my body of being in control. I am going to make sure that my body is not tense. Because if my body is tense, if I am crying, if I have a frown, if I'm not controlling my breathing, then I am telling my body that it is okay to remain in that sympathetic state. I am telling my body, I am sending signals to my body to be in fight or flight. So, when I change those things in my body and I do the opposite, I am essentially using my vagus nerve. So, my vagus nerve, your vagus nerve is kind of like this connection. Think of it as a freeway. So, you know, in a freeway, you have cars going up the freeway and down the freeway, right? So, your mind, when you're thinking positive thoughts, when you're thinking of the things that you do want, when you are imagining amazing things, when you are remembering fun moments, when you are daydreaming about a beautiful future, your mind is sending signals to your body, and your body is having reactions to those thoughts and those memories. right? So it is smiling, it is crying tears of joy, it is standing up straight, it is gearing up to go. So it is coming up down to the sympathetic, excuse me, it is going up to your ventral vagal space of feeling energetic and alive and really gearing up for that connection, right? And in that freeway, so it's coming from top to bottom, but it also goes from bottom to top. So that means that when you are feeling a little low, a little not that great, you can also use your body to send signals to your mind. So if your mind is feeling a little sad and all of a sudden you snap out of it and you tell your body to sit up straight, to regulate its breathing, to be very aware of everything that is happening right now, then you can start sending signals up the freeway to your mind, telling your mind to stop thinking negative thoughts and to start feeling better. And when you start feeling better, now you can think of ways to respond that are going to be productive to end your anxiety. Okay. And let's go to the final one, which is dorsal. So when you, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, you probably have, but sometimes when you have really bad anxiety, you kind of alternate between being anxious and being depressed, right? So when you're in dorsal, you are in freeze, your digestive system slows down because all your energy is being stored for your vital organs, right? So your heart really needs to start pumping harder to get your blood racing to so that you can move fast if you need to run away, right? And this is also why a lot of women with anxiety have digestive issues. So you might have like IBS, or you might get diarrhea, or sometimes you may feel constipated. That's because your digestive system does not, well, it's not that it doesn't work, it just really kind of slows down when you are in this dorsal state, which usually happens after like an anxiety attack. And let me just explain to you what's happening there. So, when you are in fight or flight, so when you're in your sympathetic nervous system, your body is working really, really, really hard to help you survive. So that means that your nervous system is like going, 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 going. It is attacking. Your mind is going. Everything is just working extra hard to help you survive. But that is not sustainable. And eventually, when your body feels like it has exhausted all its resources and you're still not seeing results, and you won't get results because remember, you cannot make smart decisions from a victim mentality. In order for you to make decisions that are going to make your life better, you need to regulate your nervous system, come back up to feeling safe, and start looking at your choices for responding, right? So, anyway, when you're in your sympathetic nervous system and it feels like it's exhausted all its resources, eventually it says like, "Oh my gosh, enough. Like I need a break." And that's when you end up coming down to your dorsal. So this is when you will feel like that disassociation. You'll feel like the feelings of just giving up, of like just wishing someone can come save you. You might get very sleepy, very disconnected. You feel a lot of shame and hopeless and trapped and depressed. And if you've ever read the book, The Map of Consciousness, it's a great book that talks about the state of your mind. Shame and hopeless are at the very bottom of that line. So when people feel shame or hopeless, that's usually when they have the hardest time seeing the results that they want, right? It's a very hard energy to pull. So, but again, it's not bad, right? When you're in dorsal, your body is just telling you, I need a rest, right? I need a rest. I feel very overwhelmed. I feel like I've been trying everything and I just kind of need a break, but it's not bad. And I think, again, going back to that first day, half of the reason why people struggle so much with their emotions is because they make them bad. They make anger bad. They make sadness bad. They make anxiety bad. When really all it is just an indication of where you are. It's just something that is telling you that your mind and your body are actually working perfectly. They are perfectly at your command. But the only thing is that you have trained them to believe negative thoughts, to believe scary thoughts, to believe that you don't have any power and that the power is outside of you. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Again, this might not be a programming that you did to yourself. It might have been programming that your parents programmed you with. Maybe when you were little, you weren't allowed to have opinions. You weren't allowed to have a voice. Maybe you felt like nothing you did was ever good enough. Maybe you got in trouble if you didn't get like really good grades. And you started to create these beliefs of, well, if I'm not perfect, if people aren't happy with me, then I'm not good enough, you know? And you weren't really allowed to be yourself and make mistakes and try out different things or be sad. Maybe when you were sad or angry, you got yelled at because that was not okay. But it is okay. It is okay for you to get angry, and it is okay for you to take a minute, acknowledge your anger, acknowledge your sadness, acknowledge where you are, sit with it, and then to bring yourself back up the ladder and say, okay, now that I've had my moment, I've had my feelings, let me send that signal to my mind by, again, sitting up straight, grounding myself, regulating my breath, smiling, sitting down, letting myself know that it's okay for my feelings to be what they are. Now, let me see what I can do to respond to this. What are my choices? What is the next best thought that I can have? What am I open to? One of my favorite exercises is the what am I open to exercise. So that's when, let's say you do feel depressed and sad and disconnected. Well, if you start telling yourself and sending your mind that command of, like, I am happy, I am excited, I am feeling amazing, your mind is going to say, bullshit, no, you're not, shut up. And that's just going to create more distress. But if you say to yourself, you know what, I am open to getting some sun right now, I am open to taking my 12 deep breaths. I am open to seeing things differently. I am open to feeling a little bit better. I am open to drinking a glass of water. I am open to um, doing something that makes me feel good right now. Maybe I can go outside and buy myself, some ice cream, go for a walk, feel the air in my skin, Then you start to go up the ladder in a much more gentle way. And when you're there, you can try the exercise again. Well, I am open to the next best thing. What does that look like? Well, I am open to making a list of all the solutions. And when you have your list, why I'm open to trying this thing that says, I am open to talking to my boss. I am open to having a conversation with my husband. I am open to, eating one piece of fruit every day if I've been eating really bad every day. And this is going to be dependent on what your anxiety told you yesterday. So, again, yesterday you found out why your anxiety was there and you made a list of arguments. And now that you have those arguments, you can say, okay, well, I want to believe like I am worthy and that I am powerful and that I get to make my own decisions. So, what am I open to with that list? Well, I am open to speaking up more. I am open to, maybe dressing a little bit different so that people will notice me because so far in my life, I've been very uncomfortable with being seen. Maybe I'm open to wearing red lipstick, even if people think I'm crazy. Maybe I am open to letting people think that I am crazy. What are you open to? Another thing that also works very nicely when you are in that dorsal state is to just completely focus on your senses. So if you go and you touch something that feels nice to you, something that has a very soothing texture, if you go and smell something that's very pleasing to you, maybe a candle, maybe there's roses in your garden. Maybe you can cook something up that makes you remember something really nice. Maybe you can bake some cookies because you love the smell of that. What do you like to hear? Play some songs that make you feel happy, that evoke good emotions on you. What do you like to see? Go on YouTube and type in, your favorite place on earth and watch it and feel those feelings. What feels good to you? So that always works with dorsal when you really want to come out of that depressed, disconnected state. Again, number one is just meet your body where it is. So just don't make it bad. You're there, notice it, feel it, hug yourself, love yourself, know that this is a part of life and that everyone experiences it and that it doesn't make you bad, it just makes you human. And that it's so cool that you have the power with your senses and with your thoughts and with your body movements to bring it back up. That's pretty magical. And do the work, right? And again, when you come up that letter, now you might start to get a little angry. You might start to get a little anxious, a little worried. Okay, well, don't allow it to come back down to dorsal. When you're there, know that you are in a mobilized state. So do something with it. Okay, allow yourself to say, yeah, I feel angry. I feel anxious. Okay, let me breathe. Let me take my 12 deep breaths. Let me ask my anxiety why it's here. And let me make my list of ways to respond. And let me say what I am open to. And once you have a plan, once you have a mission, now you're in this ventral vagal where it's fun. Now you have a mission. Well, okay, I don't like how much money I've been making lately, so I'm going to go make instead of reacting by getting worried and by crying and by kind of throwing my hands up in the air, I'm gonna set a goal. My choices are, I want to make $100,000 this month. So what are the ways that I can do that? Well, now I have a mission. Well, now you're in ventral vagal. Now you're mobilized. Now you're doing things every day and you're having fun. Focus on your goal. And you're using your body to support you by standing up straight, by regulating your breath, by smiling, by putting your arms up in the air and claiming it. Does that make sense? You guys, if any of this does not make sense or if you have questions, please go back to that initial email that you got when you signed up for this 5-day anxiety cleanse and ask the questions because if you have the questions, someone else might also have the questions. Not to mention that if it's your question, you will get it answered. Okay. And then just to finish up, I just do want to remind you that I have 2 programs right now that would be very helpful with your anxiety. So I've learned over the years that self-love is really, really the answer for almost any problem. So the Self-Love Elixir 2.0 is a program where you have a self-paced RTT session. You have a 21-day transformational hypnosis so that you can learn to fully love yourself. You have a future hypnosis that allows you to switch that gear in your mind. So right now your gear is in anxiety. With this hypnosis, you switch to the part of you that already has all the answers to everything that you want, and it gives you very clear answers. People love that future self-hypnosis. There is a training on the polyvagal theory with a ton of exercises that will help you understand and regulate your nervous system. There's a breathwork session in there. So it is a great, great program to just help you move forward. So this is for you if you are like all in, like if you want things and you want them now and you need to believe in them. And this is very helpful for business women because I find that a lot of business women like love the self-love elixir. I'm going to use the word love because they've had such great results with them because they tend to go and get coaches for business support. They tend to go learn about messaging and all these things. And everything, they make great investments, but then they don't see the results. And that just comes from this place where they don't really believe that they are the ones that can create the change in people. They're kind of afraid of what will happen if people won't like their program or their services. And there's like all this fear that is rooted in them. And when you have a fear in your own work, people can sense that. And you wouldn't want to buy from someone that doesn't believe in themselves, right? Like it wouldn't feel right. It's like, well, if you don't believe in your work, why should I? And so with this program, you just lock into that feeling of like, yes, of course, this is amazing. I am amazing. And it's not that it makes you like a jerk, it doesn't make you a self-centered jerk. It just makes you remove all the layers that are not true. And what is not true is that anyone else's emotions get to dictate how you feel about yourself. It's not true that you are not worthy. It's not true that you're not good enough. So it just removes that and leaves you as your truth, which is light, which is love, which is boldness, which is you are here with a purpose and a mission. And it reminds you of that and it locks that in as your engine, so to speak, right? And the next level self, a hypnotherapy session, that session is for women that really want some one on one time with someone that can help them remove layers and layers of trauma, of pain, of, if you're afraid of what's going to come up during a self-guided session, then you can do this next level self session and you can just really work with someone that is going to be there, that's going to walk you through everything that you need to do to heal, to forgive, to release, and to gently and safely remove any pain from the past and any worries from the future. The next level self is a really beautiful experience. It is an intensive experience. The sessions tend to run about 2 hours. So it is a lot, but it is very, very, very helpful in releasing forever any junk that just doesn't need to be there anymore. Okay. So, with that said, you guys, this completes day 3 of the anxiety files, your 5-day anxiety cleanse. I am so happy that you joined me. Come tomorrow in comfy clothes for tomorrow's session. And make sure that you submit your questions for the 5-day Q&A. Okay? All right. I love you guys so much. I will see you soon. Bye.